Okay. All right. All right. Well, good evening to those of us who may be joining us electronically as well. We are going to begin the Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 study session for the Planning Commission. This is a called study session that is occurring so that we can review our draft of the North Augusta Development Code. And as such, that's the main item on the agenda. However, I would like to welcome our new Commissioner, Chelsea Waddle. I just wanted to, if you wanted to introduce yourself briefly, say hello, that's it. Would like to give you the opportunity now.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Waddell, newest Planning Commission member, I suppose. I own a UPS store in downtown North Augusta and have background in commercial property management.
All right. Well, welcome, and we are grateful that you're here. And all right, is there anything else, Mr. Did you all want to? All right, Ms. Paradise, is there anything else on the?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, we can proceed. I think with starting with chapter 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have, again, I have my list up there that I left for y'all of comments that I thought we needed to talk about. And in 8.3.2, I believe when the subcommittee talked, that we should delete 8.3.2, but keep the rest of 8.3 so that we had a design standard for bicycles, but 8.3.2 requires bicycle parking. And is that something that the Planning Commission wants to recommend as a requirement for bicycle parking for non-residential and multifamily?
So, and I may be remembering this incorrectly. Was it to remove it, or is it that we were okay with it because the director could waive or reduce? I can't remember.
Removing 8.3.2, I think it was mainly 8.3.2. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I understand. Just kind of what do we want to do there?
So for me, I personally, but again, it's my personal opinion, like the idea of there being the expectation that they need to provide bicycle parking, and then it be up to you at your discretion if that is something that you waive more easily or not. But if that is too cumbersome for you, then please share that. I just, if we're talking about a walkable city and we're talking about traffic management, I think that it is in keeping with that and given the number of parks and our focus on Greenway and everything else to encourage and to have an expectation that there be at least a discussion around bicycle parking. But that's not.
So, is it just to delete 8.3.2.2?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that what y'all are talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And I may have written it wrong down in my notes from the,
I can't remember because we talked about it and we went back to it. And I don't remember.
So if we delete 2.2, which specifies how many spaces, then all you've got to do is have a bike rack with any new development, and whether that's big enough for one bike or 30 bikes, they've met the requirement then. Which I'm fine with that, but, you know, as long as they've done something to accommodate cyclists, I think that's what we're trying to get to here, without requiring.
Well, should there be something there that gives the director to determine the number?
Yeah, so may waive, so it probably needs to say the director should, determine the number or may waive. Yeah, should determine the number or may waive, or whichever way it is, may waive or determine the number. The director may waive or determine the number of bicycle parking spaces required based on the surrounding use and context. Minimum of one.
What's the current code have in it?
It's a minimum of one. And
Does this match current code, or is this?
I think it's pretty close.
okay, because if you're saying one, then it might as well leave it. Just leave it as it is.
I can't think of any project
Says,
When I had the McDonald's, we had to have, you gotta have a rack, which is at least one, but we always did. Yeah, we did here.
it just says bicycle parking may be required where the director finds a sufficient need in a particular case. Intended to encourage the design of spaces.
Another way to look at that is by not having it, it requires Tommy to think about it on every project.
Yeah,
Waiving the requirement, you gotta go, oh yeah, this is a downtown project, and this is associated with Greenway, I probably should put a bike rack here. It puts a lot on Tommy to make
Well,
sure that that's followed.
That's just a question. Right now, there is the limit on the upper end of 15. Bike racks, and I'm thinking if you had a major shopping center with a, anchor tenant, grocery stores, something like that, with a lot of parking spaces, or Walmart, you do have the maximum number required. And it does get it out of being, excuse the expression that we all learned back in November, arbitrary and capricious. So,
so we can just leave it, I guess maybe then, that's an argument for leaving it as it is with two intact, and then that way, if you decide to waive it, fine. But if
Well-
not, then it's not solely written as being at your discretion.
And then 8.3.2.1 allows the director to reduce that number too. So it's not a hard and fast number. But I think after going through this in new projects, you'll probably see those coming. All right?
No change.
No change. Do we have any other comments for chapter 8? Point 33 A1. Got it. What else we got?
Let me just stop for a second, because we didn't do roll call, because it's not required, but just in case folks are listening and not watching, probably wouldn't hurt for folks to do a roll call. So I'm gonna do an audible of that.
Rhett Harbison, Bob Bigger.
Chelsea Waddell.
And I am your chair for the evening, Christine Crawford.
And Chelsea, make sure you speak into the microphone and that green light's on. Anything else on chapter 8? If not, we'll go to chapter 9. And I will be honest with the planning commission. I don't believe the study group, steering committee really looked at chapter 9 because chapter 9 had recently been revised. But I did go through and looked at chapter 9 rather closely and have some questions of possible changes. Let me start chapter.
I think we were a little cross-eyed by the time we got to chapter 9.
I think so. 9.4.4. Huh?
944, site distance requirements? Is that,
9 point. Yeah,
yeah, because 944, yeah, the site distance.
What did I do? Yes, I did. All right, so what I'm, let me see.
Oh, it's 9.3.4.
9.3.4?
Think
Yeah,
what you're
I
talking
think it's
about.
just a number.
Top of that
34,
same page,
yeah, 34A.
348.
You'll have me confused.
It's on page 140, the new top left corner.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes. Right, we didn't,
Got it. That is.
guessing at the number, I guessed the number wrong, but yeah.
And I co-signed. So, for clarification, we are really talking about 9.4.2. 4.
Dot 4, dot A.
Got it.
9.4.2.
So 9.4.
It's on page 140 of your book in the
Yeah.
top left corner.
9.4.2.A. Yeah. So it's 9.4.2A.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
9.3. Yeah, 9.4. 2. Yeah, that's right. 9.42A.
What's the title?
It's 9.4.2.4.
0.4.
4.A. So it's an extra number and a
9.2.4.
A.
Got it. And
Hardest thing we do all night.
I'm telling you, for such a simple question. One of my questions is, I think the intent of the code is one freestanding sign per lot of record. And this says per site, lot, or parcel. So could that be wormed or interpreted in a way that more than one sign could be on there, or are y'all good with that?
That's
Can it
saying
be read as if there's multiple parcels involved in a site, they could put multiple signs up?
Yeah, well, that's the way it is, and that way I'd look at it now is if it's a separate parcel, unless there's something in, like a PD has a plan on there, every parcel gets a sign. But not every, but can a lot have more sites on it than one?
See, I'm trying to think of where that's not a PD, and if it's, And if it's not a PD, then who do you make do the monument sign and how do you make, so if it's not a PD and it's a separate parcel, right, separate owner, then who do you decide has to do a sign, how do you not do this? How do you not have it? You understand what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm thinking is and I guess might be thinking a little bit out of the box, but you got one parcel, okay, one lot, and you build a restaurant here on this half of the parcel, and then you lease out the other half to restaurant B, so they both want signs. The way I interpret it, they should have one because it's one lot of record. My question is would that be two sites?
No, and that is if it's one owner, because then it's the owner of the one to put a monument sign up that has both restaurants on it. I think the problem only becomes if you had a separate owner.
Right. And it was a question I wanted to ask, and if y'all are good with it, I'm good with it.
But you also, you don't want to make it, but you don't want a sign, you don't want a different lot sign for like Manning's, Taco Bell, and Ruby TV, and Bell,
Each lot gets a sign.
but they, and I guess I'm thinking about other ones.
Yes, ma'am. You're thinking about doing a PD with a
Well, they
common.
make 'em do a monument,
Yeah.
Because the PDs, they don't. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about PDs.
Common development on Warner Street.
Well, I think C answers the question. They get two if they're within a certain distance from the road.
And I think that the parcel piece, that's probably also, I don't know if those are even grandfathered in also, because I don't know that we've had anything that's not a PD. Probably the last, I don't know how long. We haven't had a non-PD development for commercial.
So what's your thoughts on it, Tommy? What's your concern with that?
At first, I had a concern about it. The more I read it, the less I have a concern, to be honest with you. After we've talked through it. So if y'all want to leave it,
As long as they're parceled out, I think you got to let them have a sign. I don't think you got to force them to put them together.
The other one is something that has come up recently that I don't think anybody, off-site signage. Right now, when the code was redone, there was, I can't cite the case, anyway, content neutral, all of that stuff. So off-site signage, you couldn't regulate message. And off-site signage was, that prohibition was taken out of the code. There's nothing in the code now that prohibits it. There's been some court, talking to the consultant, there's been some court decisions since then that would allow the prohibition of off-site signage. And we have had that, we are having that come up now on more occasions. And is that from the study group, I got the impression that that was something that y'all wanted to prohibit, and it's not in this current draft. Is that something that you want in here? And if you do, we would add it in 9.7 under prohibited signs.
school signs.
Huh?
I think all the new school signs. Elementary schools are flashing more than 30 seconds.
Well, we'll, get there in a minute. But what do we want to do about off-site? And
Give your example, or an example that you could, when I heard the example, that helped me have a.
Yeah. Say you've got a, not to pick on you, Dr. Crawford, just a common name, McDonald's. You have a McDonald's here on this lot. Well, so they go down next to 520 and buy and erect a sign down at 520, or they go down to the, or a real scenario that we ran into one time, you have a hotel that's on the street behind the major street, and then they want signage out on the major street directing them to them. That's the type thing I'm talking about with off-site signage. It would be, like I said, McDonald's being able to put their sign wherever.
So if the ballpark
Not-
wanted to put a sign up on George Avenue, so.
McDonald's, they could do it, or Martintown Road. The business wouldn't have to be there on that lot of record with them.
So basically, it'd be a cheaper version of a billboard. I mean, a non, yeah, it's basically.
And if it's in the right district, it could be electronic with changeable.
So I have mixed feelings about it personally. Right? So I think in general, no, but I think, and those are issued by the city, but it's the same kind of thing. Where, and they're doing them in Augusta now, but they do them in Greenville, where the streets that are, the businesses that are not on the main street, there's signage, but it's all together that directs. So I do think that especially in a downtown scenario that there is, but that is done by the city. So I think making sure that small businesses that are off the beaten path, so the example that you said with the hotel, that doesn't bother me as much as the other example.
Right. This wouldn't affect the wayfinding signs that you're talking about.
Okay.
The city recs.
Okay.
This would be, they go erect their sign around the corner or something to draw people in.
But even for like that hotel, if you're on an access road and not on the main, I don't know that what was the lawsuit? Because when there a reference to a lawsuit that we had in a continuing ed on it?
There was, I want to say it was out of Arizona. Went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they said you can't. I think it was about temporary signs. You couldn't regulate content. There's been a case out of I believe it's the First Circuit Court of Appeals since then that said that commercial speech and private speech aren't the same, and you can put some regulations on commercial speech. And I think it was about off-site advertising.
So I think we may need some clarity as to whether, even if that is something that we're in favor of, if legally it would stand up, or are we going to put something in that doesn't have any standing? 'Cause the two examples you just gave me are two very different ones. If we went to the Supreme Court, they said that you couldn't, and then I don't know what so maybe some legal clarity on whether or not that's even an option. Would be helpful.
Okay.
Is everybody in agreement with?
A little more insight would help.
So if we restrict it, we get
there you go, to the BZA, and request a variance.
They would have to own that piece of land they're putting the sign on, or would they not?
They could lease it.
Lease it.
In-
Couldn't put McDonald's and Chick-fil-A on
Nah.
it, could
The other thing that has come up along this too, and this is where the case that upheld it was, is you, say you're coming down Georgia Avenue, and on the side of Sheila's, she has ad spaces for different businesses painted on the side of the wall, or in wall signs on the side of the wall within. It's not just freestanding signs. It could be like that as well. And I just picked because I was in there this morning. So
And inherently, I don't. So a wall sign. So it includes wall signs.
yeah, it would include wall signs as well as freestanding signs.
Which I don't have a problem with that either. Everybody needs help getting foot traffic.
Sounds good.
Mr. Carter, you trying to?
No, I'm just trying to think of, there's wall signs now, on the other side, aren't there, close? It should.
There is one.
I don't know. I'm just using that as an example. You could, their allowable wall signage could be rented, basically. 6. Say what?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Correct.
By 100 or 10%.
9.6. All right, we'll just scratch that one and move on, if that's all right with y'all. 9.6.3.2. Me, E, and F. Did those conflict? We will. Okay. Do y'all have problems with this? I mean, when I read it, it says plastic box signs and signs constructed are not permitted, and plastic and vinyl lettering are permitted. And then it says wall signs should be placed in existing architectural panels, which is, to me, is the box on the wall.
But it says integral to the building facade when such a, so I guess the implication is that the building facade materials would not be plastic. Is that the? Is that the distinction?
I'm not sure. Typically when I think about a wall sign, an internally illuminated wall sign, it's a box. Frame's metal and you got a plastic insert with the light bulbs or LED behind it. So, is E saying to prohibit those? And then F says wall signs be placed in existing architectural sign panels integral to the building facade when such a panel exists. I guess that would be something that was built at the time of the building.
Yeah, I think the intention is to not have people just buy plastic signs to stick on the side of every building, right? I think that's the intent, but I
Okay.
don't know if that's the best way to say it.
Okay, I follow what you're saying now.
Yeah, I think the intention is just to not, so that people aren't putting up banners on the side of every building.
Gotcha.
That's what that is.
I'm with you now. All right, 9.6.4. Point 2. Point 1. 964. Two. I think I've got my numbers off again.
9.6.4 number 2.
Yeah, but he's saying it's off because there's no one. It's supposed to be temporary.
Center, temporary
6.4.
signage
Maybe 9.5.
to,
Yeah. And then it's still not
5.2. And my question was, do you want any temporary, it limits these to being not illuminated.
That's fine.
Do you want to only restrict it in these areas, or do you want to restrict it so temporary signage is not illuminated at all?
I think, oh, okay, because instead of residential zoning district. I think a temporary sign should not be illuminated at all.
Most of the ones that I see aren't.
Because if you allow them to be illuminated, then people will say that it's temporary.
Good point. And you got to get the electrical out there, temporary electrical for the illumination, and usually that's a hazard.
Not anymore. You can use a solar light that'll floodlight and put that right. No, sir.
Good point. Good, I stand corrected. So what I'm hearing is temporary signs not illuminated at all.
Yeah, period.
So is that internally versus externally with a spotlight, or is it just no illumination?
All, both. No illumination.
No illumination.
Correct. Now we're getting to the tricky ones. 9.6.2. And we're getting to the public. There's really nothing in the code right now that addresses signage in the P public zoning district, which is a little strange. But one is in table 9.2, they're not allowed in the public use district. And as Mr. Carter said, all of the schools have them. I would think that the new public safety headquarters would want one at some point in time. The Nancy Carson Library has one. You know, is this something that the planning commission would want to recommend that they be allowed or not allowed?
I think they should be allowed. I get the initial intention of all of that with the no reader boards was, for lack of a better analogy, to keep us from being Myrtle Beach, right? And so the other extreme of that then is becoming Hilton Head, right? Where you can't see anything. And so the idea is to find somewhere between the middle of both of those. And so I think, and so then are the restrictions, I think we do have restrictions around flashing. Do we have size, I think, restrictions?
We do.
So I think you should allow public use, given that we have other restrictions in place.
Everybody in agreement? All right. Now, the next question that I had, 9.6.510. Should have put the page numbers down.
46.
There we go. and it says, A, reader boards must be a part of a larger wall or freestanding sign. Do you want a reader board, particularly an electronic message center, on the wall of a building? Either the front or the rear, or front or the side.
I don't think it should be on walls, because those are usually.
One of the things to think, well, one of the things to think about is they're much larger. Wall signage, you get more than you do, square footage than you do on a freestanding sign. And on a freestanding sign, they can't be more than 50% of that freestanding sign, so that cuts that way down. But if it's a wall sign, I get the impression y'all don't want it on the wall. Now, how about, and I agree with you. That's why I was asking the question. How about the old changeable copy reader board
On the side?
on the wall? Yeah. And I'd ask that question because these two, nope, they're not. That's just electronic reader boards, so forget that question.
But I think that's why that previous one was about the no plastic and the vinyl, because it makes it harder to change out. If it's part of the architectural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the intention. Make sure that it is not a.
All right. Now this is some just from I had worked with in the past that you may want to add, you may not want to add. But do you want to right now? Well, I just saw another one down here. Okay, nope. As far as restrictions, some of the other jurisdictions, they can't change messages but once every 10 seconds. It's static, and it goes straight to another message. Static for 10 seconds, goes to another message. Right now, we really don't have a restriction, I don't think, of how long it has to remain static.
So I think we need a restriction. Cause all that, yeah, it just means it's not a continuous loop, cause the difference between 10 seconds and 30 seconds.
10 seconds it gives you long enough to read it. Maybe 2, depending on the speed that you're going by. But 10 seconds is a lot longer than you think. But
Just the question is, if we put it in, somebody go out there and time it and say your sign's wrong?
I've done it before.
They just putting the time frame to 10C then? That's where they classify 10C.
Yeah, we would.
Because it just, right now it says no animation, scrolling, or flashing.
But, and yeah, and that's the same thing as scrolling, is if it's less than, so you could put scrolling in parentheses less than 10 seconds.
Well, we could put some verbiage in there that it has to be a static display for 10 seconds, and that helps clarify this right here.
What scrolling is.
Now, another one that we don't have here is that the electronic sign has a photo cell in it. It dims it or brightens it based on the ambient light. Yeah, it's not uncommon. It's in the better, your better built signs, but what it does is you turn it bright so that you can see it in you get a bright sunny day, and then you get the cloud come over, and it gets dark, Well, it's still not that bright sunny day, it dims with it and adjusts the light. Well, I can tell you about the schools, they got the variants, and they turn off at 10 o'clock. That was one of the conditions of approval, but, so, y'all like that in there? Okay.
And that's applies to anything going forward, right? We're not
Right.
go back and enforce anything that's existing that we retrofitted for photo cell.
Correct. And then, electronic sign would have a mechanism to turn off in the event of a malfunction. Yeah, well, we can require it. I can tell you that whenever I was involved in putting together an ordinance, and this is where this is coming from. These were recommendations from the sign people that they could do this.
Yeah, because it forces you to get it fixed instead of just having. That's what'll happen.
Well, that's true.
We going from
Yeah.
But
sign to a Cadillac sign.
but
What's the sign old guy would, yeah.
but the photo cell, was their recommendation to insect, so these are within the industry. But
My personal experience, the ability to turn off the sign in the event of a malfunction is not very expensive to add overall. Which I guess you could turn it off with the box, but I don't think it would be very burdensome from a cost perspective.
we good on that? Y'all didn't know y'all were gonna get an electric sign tonight. The other one is kind of a question, is should an electronic reader board be added to a non-conforming sign? And the one I'm sitting here thinking of is Advance, that big sign down on Martintown Road. Could they add an electronic message center to that? But, it's either yes or no, so.
If it's non-conforming, so it's been grandfathered in, it should be able to retrofit. You wouldn't allow that now.
Right.
Got a sign,
Yeah.
current freestanding sign that's at the maximum square footage, that square footage is counted against.
Right, but if they wanted to reface it so that it included the electronic message center within the non-conforming sign area that they have now. Because right now you can reface a non-conforming sign.
Yeah, 'cause we actually want you to replace it if you get something.
All right. The next question that I have is, what is an appropriate size for the P district? Right now, they changed it to city council makes the decision. Well, it may not, it may be the school district, Aiken County, it may be not really a city building.
So then who would?
Well, do we need to have a specific standard in there for public use? What should that size be? Should it be general commercial? Should it be I don't know. Or, as I said here, should director make that determination based on the surrounding neighborhood? But then again, you probably wouldn't be getting, well, I'm just thinking about signs for schools with residential
Yeah, and so
around it.
school signs would be rendered probably ineffective completely if they were as small as the ones we allow for commercial. I'm just thinking, right, because the commercial ones, because they put a lot of they put information, right,
Mhm.
not just the name of a product or, so they actually put school closed. So I don't know if we'd be rendering them less useful by making them put forward to the commercial. 'Cause aren't they typically bigger? The school ones?
The school?
Yeah.
No, I think, that they are bigger than what you normally see in a residential district. I don't, and I don't know the square footage offhand. They may be about 100 square feet, but if that large, but, that is, the square footage that they use was in realm with a commercial site, if I remember correctly. And I'm trying to think of the variances that we had.
I think in some ways I'm fine with them being slightly bigger only because I think they convey more information for the public,
Mhm.
right? And so I get that function being different than a promotion, which is what a business is using it for. But who should make that decision? I think is what is the appropriate size?
You know, the P district is just so wide open
Yeah.
with different uses, and we also have to think that our public officials would be, and I'm not talking about just city officials, but our public officials would be sensitive to their neighbors.
Is there a reason that the city council wanted to?
No, the city council has not requested it. This was not addressed in the current ordinance. It's something I'm trying to get in here. When I sent the recommendations to the consultant that we needed, guidance of signage for the P district, he just plugged city council in there. And I don't think that's probably what we want to do. Let me see.
But then, yeah, but
No reason I think about that.
No, that's for every sign.
yeah, saying rear boards may not exceed 50%. So it's 100.
What page are?
I was looking at the chart. It's actually 60.
That's right. Let me get the new.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, cause
See,
new ones here, cause I think on Georgia they're bigger.
right now, and this is, what we have now is 100 square feet for office commercial and general commercial. And I want to say that's what was used for the schools. I wouldn't think you'd want to go any larger than that.
I guess we need to find out for certain what their current, if that's enough and if that's because again, I think it gets to the purpose of it. And so, and again, they typically have to be turned off at 10 or whatever anyway, so it's not.
Well, that was a condition of the variance.
Okay.
And do you want me to get that size from the schools and plug that in, or?
Yeah, just to see where we are, because I also don't want to, for all the schools, if if that size is,
I think it'd all be uniform too.
yeah,
I think you would think it'd be the same.
and you don't want to, if we invariably end up cutting it by 50%, then all the other schools are going to look shamed. I just think
Okay, get the signs from the schools and bring that back to you.
I think it'll look strange and they'll be upset. The new school.
All right.
I don't think it should be a council decision necessarily. That seems a little bit of a burden on them to do what really should be our work, I would think, wouldn't it?
Actually, it should be staff's,
Staff.
where it comes in and we can say yes or no, it fits the box, and if it doesn't fit the box, it goes to the BZA.
Sure.
Um, yeah, that would be West Avenue. Good catch.
Yeah, but they don't allow, because we said that down Riverfront was going to be mixed use too, also, right? And so they don't. But is all of it a PD? Oops,
No.
I'm sorry.
It would not, the downtown mixed use 2 area down the hill would not be part of the planned development, of Riverside Village. It's separated, it's 2 different zoning districts.
See, I don't think we do want freestanding. Yeah, no, but I'm saying, but now that we put them together, now that we've put it together, then that makes what we're saying for West is going to be the same as Riverfront if we keep that decision consistent. That's all. So then it may be. So that makes 2 questions. So then if it's downtown mixed use too, is that really appropriate for the riverfront when we want that development to mirror more? It's not historic and it's not old, but we also want the signage and stuff to be in keeping. Right, but we put it. Right, and so does that beg, then do we really need a third for that? Or how do we handle that or reconcile?
What do you think of straight out when you think of a freestanding sign? What do you think of?
It's,
What comes to mind just initially? I'm thinking sandwich boards or something,
no. I'm thinking about a pylon sign on a pole.
Okay,
Look at the old motel over here. That's a freestanding sign. The golden arches
Gotcha.
out by the road. The sandwich board sign would be a temporary portable sign. That's correct. Mhm. Like I said, that's a good catch. It does.
No, but I think that is a good conversation because I think there are things that would be permissible on West that we don't necessarily, in addition to signage, probably in terms of creating the feel that we don't, that may need to be its own.
No, I mean, we can break this out and, have a different downtown mixed use 1 and then have a downtown mixed use 2 where freestanding is allowed. I mean, that's not a problem.
So well, I guess, yeah,
But-
okay, so then that need to be, so then would the riverfront need to be downtown mixed use 3? Or back in?
Well,
That's-
what we did there,
Cause it can't go with regular downtown because some of the height, that's for, you're talking about older
Well,
architecture.
yeah, but when you go down the hill and you allow the higher height, wouldn't that be more conducive to a freestanding sign in West Avenue?
Perhaps, right, but if you imagine that it becomes as crowded, but it's outside the PD, do you want a bunch of freestanding signs?
They're not getting but one per lot of record. And I say that in jest.
Yeah, but, so, even if we say that it should still be one freestanding, I think though, the general question of, does the riverfront need its own downtown mixed use? Not just for right now, what it looks like, but what we envision it looking like in 10 years. Does that need to look different than what we're allowing on West? Because if that is the case, then I think we do need to do a mixed use for that area. But so outside of the sign question, as you brought it up. Because if I remember, our job is to really think about planning and what it will look like. So in the North Augusta of 10 to 20 years, do we envision development there being the same as we do on West? And if we don't, then that's a different.
As the engineer told me, this is the real planning here.
Yeah.
I do not have the map, but let me see here. The area that we had that allows for the higher buildings is bounded by Center Street, Bluff Street, West Street, West Clifton, Meridian, and the Greenway. If that helps any.
I struggle enough when I'm looking at it, so I know it's telling me hearing it. Oh,
Is this something that I should bring some more information back to y'all, or?
yeah, and I think the greater question, again, we collapsed it, but does that need to be a separate? Because even the way that it is used by pedestrians, because it's on the Greenway, all that's very different than what we've put it with. And so there may be some other things, and going forward, as people envision uses that we can't even imagine for that same area, we may need to be able to do some things differently than we would do for areas that are not just connected to downtown. Does that make?
But am I bringing stuff back just on signage?
Well, so I think the signage, but then also the greater question to revisit it of whether or not we need a different.
Zoning district? Then I had in here to delete 10.4.2 and table 10.3. this was from the steering committee, 10.4.2. Pedestrian design in table 10.3. Because I think this is covered in under the roads. Oop. Under like 10.4 as pedestrian walkway criteria, bicycle design width.
It was in the transportation. Did we have-
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's-
Mobility,
that's what- okay.
10.3 and basically that just refers you to 10.4.
All of 10.3? Street hierarchy, is that where you are?
Yeah, table 10.3.
Table 10.
Bikeway design width.
Okay, so we're saying 10.3 and 10.4. Where are they located, Tommy, instead?
On page 154 and 155.
Yeah, no, but we're saying, I thought we were saying that they occur somewhere else, so that's why we're taking it out.
Well, you go over to the pedestrian walkway design. I think this was Tom Zeezer's recommendation in the steering committee. This is something that was from the steering committee notes that I didn't see deleted.
Yeah, but I thought, wasn't it because it was in something else, but I can't,
Yep.
yeah, but I can't find what else it was in to make sure that it's there. I guess that's what I'm saying. It
Right.
was to delete it because it was a repeat, but I don't see where it was. And maybe you could just ask Tom to make sure. If you don't mind, that
We'll
it
do
is in
it.
fact redundant.
Okay.
I think that's what it was for, but I don't remember where. I can't find what the redundancy.
And I'm thinking it was in,
Is it later? But where?
I think it's in a different chapter.
Yeah, it's a completely different chapter, but I just want to make sure it's there, and I don't remember where it was. I don't, my flipping is not.
10-10, 10.10 is all about sidewalk. Placement, width. 10.9 is for shoulders and shoulders, but 10.10 is sidewalk. 10.11 is bikeways.
Okay, that may be it. You said 10 point.
It says sidewalks in graded areas within the right of way shall be required depending on road classification, intensity of development in accordance with the measurements requirements set forth in table 10.2. Street design, table 10.3, conventional street design. Sidewalks should be parallel.
Right, and then you go over to 10.4 and you got sidewalk design criteria. And I think planting strips,
sidewalks.
bike lanes, trees. Anyway,
Oh, maybe it's, okay, so 10.4 refers to walkways, which is in actual Article 17.
ah,
So. Where's the Article 17? But that's not right. That's not right. Sometimes, I think that whole section 10 internal walkway sidewalks, I don't know if that's consistent, because it's talking about Article 17 landscaping, but Article 17 is not landscaping anymore. And these are talking about pedestrian walkways, but it just says walkways, so are those the same, and they break out?
all right,
I don't know if it's a typo or something's happened.
there we go. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
No, so, I guess, we don't, I'm not, it's not jumping out where 10.4 and 10.3, where that information is otherwise,
Right.
right? But then if you go to 10, 10.19.8, which talks about pedestrian circulation, right?
Right,
Then there are crosswalks, sidewalks, internal walkways. And so, and then if you go to 10.19, 10.3 is saying walkways must be at least 8 feet in width and be landscaped as provided in Article 17 landscaping. And Article 17 is not landscaping, it's administrative roles and responsibilities. So I don't know if in general something is,
I think that might have been where he was coming from,
Okay.
and,
Should be seven.
Yeah, so seven instead
Seven
of
is landscaping, buffering, open space and trails.
Yeah, and I think that 10-4 that we were just talking about, the language around pedestrian walkways, I would assume needs to be consistent with the language here around internal walkways, so forth and so on. I don't know, cause it's talking about walkways.
correct. I think, Tom's
Something seems amiss.
was to take these two out so that there wasn't any conflict with, 1019.
Okay,
1019 would prevail.
okay,
That would seem to make sense.
okay.
But is that what y'all want to do?
That's fine as long as it gives him enough that's enough direction and if the only requirement that he needs is at least 8 feet in width and landscaping, if that's all he needs. Cause this has design criteria for the greenways, promenades, paths, sidewalks, the different types of, and I think sidewalks is somewhere else, maybe the building.
What number are you on now?
No, so 10-4, right,
Okay, 10-4.
is talking about different types of walkways. 10-19 talks about just crosswalks, sidewalks, pathways, internal walkways. And as a non-engineer, is that different from a promenade and a greenway pedestrian walkway?
Excuse me? I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm good with scratching it.
I didn't have that deleted.
I'll scratch it. Ten, five.
And I'm guessing Tom could probably clarify all of it in a way that we try to figure it out.
Check with Tom, and then if Tom says, no, this is what I was wanting to read it, I'll be okay with that. But
Yeah.
I think it might be to the traffic, I think we're off, because 10-5 is not on.
Right. It is duplicated there.
I think we were going to reference 11, 7. Then I seem to recall them talking about like what we were trying to avoid with that, this section, this section.
Well, yeah, but sometimes that's, when you're hunting, when you know something's there and you can't find it, sometimes you look in places where you think it is and you hit that and it'll take you to it. So I don't know that that's a bad thing. So 10.5, you want to reference 11.7. And delete the rest of it, right?
He's saying 11.7 should reference appendix.
We want to keep 10.5 too. So, all right. 10.5.1, we reference 11.7.
But then 11.7 sends you to appendix B.
Well, yeah. That will,
Okay.
that, we're not, we didn't contract to redo all the appendixes.
Oh, okay.
And so that just tells them this is the process for the TIA
Okay.
and what it all has to do.
Okay.
All right, and then delete. Ten point five point one A and B, right? Keep 10.5.2. We good? All right. .7 should include a reference to Appendix B, which it does. Where are we at now?
Table of contents,
What article?
1015 is street lighting, 1016 is now visual clearance at intersections, so it's not underground wiring. Oh, I'm sorry, this
Hang
is
on.
the very front table of contents, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, let me look at something here.
Very front, not on page 154, but on page.
16.
Update table of contents.
Okay. Yeah,
They added it, looks like, right?
10.12.2 is utility easement and is undergrounding. No, it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't match.
All right. Ten 12 is utility easement. 1016.
Yeah. You go through and check.
Underground
what?
wiring exists.
They need to go ahead and check, they just need to check the article, they need to check the table of contents for Article 10. It's all placed in there when it shouldn't be. Yeah. So I think it's, needs to come out and be renumbered.
Where is the underground wiring? I
On the
can't-
very front, no, in your very table of contents. Oh, where is it in the thing? I
Yeah.
don't know that part.
No, it, under utilities, Article 12, that was something we told them to do in the rewrite.
Okay,
Maybe that was a
okay.
Yeah, that's right. Good job.
All right.
Cause it's under, yeah, there's underground utilities, not underground lines.
One of the other questions,
Mhm.
Tim, so we discussed the power hour this week, traffic cable calming devices in residential neighborhoods, is that something that needs to be addressed in here someplace? Or does that fall under?
It could be. I think that would probably be something we wait from direction to council. See if that's something they want to move forward in. And remember, our mission here was to fix the old one. And they did the audit to find out what needed to be fixed. So that's kind of on our mission here. And then as other things come up, we can plug them in after we get this done. I think about the traffic calming. I think about short-term rentals is probably an issue that's coming up that we'll have to address. So I just, but we could get on one of those type issues, and the planning commission could really, and staff could spend a couple of months discussing how to massage that and create that. And I would like to be moving this one on forward and then come back and pick those up. All right. So what do we got next here? I think I got 13.6 and 7.9.1 contradicting.
Just back at 10.4.3 on your notes, Tommy, should refer to correct table, currently should be referring to table 10.5, not 10.4. I didn't see a 10.4.3. It's your bullet point under the delete 10.4.2 and table 10.3.
Yes, I did not see that either, and I'm assuming that got deleted.
Okay, so that's just done, okay.
Yeah, that was, I missed it when I was checking over the notes.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something, because it's entirely possible,
To be honest with you, by the time I got down to here, my eyes were,
I'm sure.
So I think we're down to 13.6.
Yeah. Oh, and 7.9. Yeah. 13.6.2.
It's the same, yeah, it's the same sentence, isn't it?
Well,
Same paragraph. Like 13.6 needs to come out. Yeah, I think so. 6 needs to come out altogether.
Cause it's,
okay.
the way 13.6 is highlighted though, with the screening required and location and stuff like that. It's not on 7 as far as bold
Shall
type.
be completely screened by I think we did, we changed that to the fence and stuff. Did we? Cause it's saying the fencing is required. Inside the, but he's saying that the strip planned above it, completely, so he's talking about, you're talking about use of the word screening as a.
Just putting headers on
Just putting headers on the paragraphs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I just
I
like,
got
I
you.
like that design. I mean, as far as,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I
It
thought you
sticks
were talking
out,
about
yeah.
screening itself, okay.
yeah.
Okay, so we're deleting 13.6.
That's what he's saying, yeah. That the screening required and location, those headers.
Bold, headers, I guess, is what, as, Jesse was saying. Correcting me.
No.
I mean, helping me. How about that?
All right, and in here, 13.3, Tom had mentioned this to me earlier today. It has, I was thinking it was 25 feet from 50 feet from a wetland and then 25 feet from other bodies of water. He'd like to see it 50 feet from both wetlands and stream bank or any body of water. I thought so.
That doesn't include residential dwellings, right?
Say what?
That doesn't include for family dwellings.
I think if it is a, if it's an existing lot of record, it would not prohibit it. If it is a newly created lot of record, it would. In other words, when we're looking at subdivisions going forward, that would be a requirement. The wetlands delineation is actually, a guy comes out and delineates the wetlands and gives us a map showing where it's at. And then the bank would be where the bank, yeah. Correct. High water mark. Okay. And then anything else in chapter 13? And I jumped, was there anything in the articles between 10 and 11 or 12?
I wouldn't know about floodplain management or something right
I wouldn't want, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want to touch floodplain
Yeah,
management.
I was gonna say, so that's gonna need to rely
that
on
to
engineering.
Leave that to the experts.
Yeah.
Last time I dealt with a floodplain management is a different jurisdiction and it wasn't pretty. Chapter 14. Chapter 15. Chapter 16.
As long as staff is good with all of the performance guarantees and all that process as it currently.
We corrected that one back
the first time.
in the first time.
We're having an issue with
Five and five, five and five and five.
Yeah. Well, do we-
There was, I thought he was putting some wording in here, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I think if it was more than, wasn't something too consecutive or something. Or I thought if they were proximity, I think it was something about, he came up with something I thought that fixed the SCCU requirement. But I don't know. It's all running together. Because it was a way for a person to abuse, to basically, so it was a conversation around using minor plat designation to do kind of your own rigging together a little PD, but not, but using minor plats to do it. We talked about, but I don't remember what the recommendation was.
I think we were asking the consultant how to address that.
Yeah, I think that's probably, that feels right.
Yep, got that. Anything else in 16?
You're okay with it? That's on the process.
17, got some questions here.
The conservation subdivision, 16.9, is that discussed elsewhere?
This would be it.
And how does that relate to our existing? I've got that highlighted. I think the existing, if you do a conservation subdivision, one of the benefits is it allows you to not do certain things. With this code, that it doesn't highlight. Allows us to convert, but it doesn't highlight the benefits.
Correct. And actually,
That was taken out, that's fine.
the, that other, the connectivity, exemption was back in the, internal connectivity, and I don't know, let me look and see, 161. That's where it's at in our current code.
Was connectivity,
Right, it, internal connectivity,
was that the only benefit, or wasn't it some? I was gonna say, and I thought it was something with open space. And I thought it was something with open space, but that may be wrong.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's saying here that conservation open space shall meet all open space requirements as set forth in Article 7. And I thought it was something around, gave up something on open space as well. Only because we had that development recently, that was gonna be the first time we were talking about it.
I don't see the exceptions in the connectivity.
I think we should have those exceptions, because the point was to encourage those, right? Because of the maintenance of the, with wetlands and the natural topography, and so forth and so on. So I think, we wanna get rid of that.
Mhm. What? Sorry about that. Here we go. Streets shall not cross wetlands or existing slopes exceeding 15 feet. Open space and parks relating to maintenance shall apply to a conservation subdivision. No other requirements of the open space and park standards shall apply. Conservation subdivision shall comply with Article 10, landscaping. And it's not subject to the minimum parking requirements of Article 12. And that's, and streets. Okay, in the existing code in Table 14-8, required connectivity ratio. Conservation subdivisions, not applicable. Additional neighborhood developments are 1.8, all other subdivisions are 1.4. Right. Well, we should have it somewhere. Let me see here. What's that? Right, that was, get back to it. Not less than 40% of the lots in a conservation subdivision shall abut a conservation area. Yeah, it's,
Sounds like it needs a rewrite.
all right.
Too much flexibility.
Almost vague.
All right, we need to redo that chapter, that article. All right. Anything else? So,
Close, we're almost there.
yeah. 1744 says that if you got an application, it can't come back for a year. All right. Not for subdivisions. If it's a text amendment, some things are, like a text amendment. But like a subdivision, no. You don't have that in the current code for a subdivision. Well, I'm thinking, a subdivision or site plan approval. You know, when you give them the reasons to turn it down, this is what we turned it down for. If they can go back and cure those, should they have to wait a year? And the way this reads, I think it does. So, you know, a text amendment, yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to think of what else y'all hear, huh? A rezoning, yeah, that would be another one.
Is there a way to spell that out, though, as far as just a place to spell it out? You can come back for this or can't come back for that? Or is
I think you could put that in here, that no application for text amendment or rezoning can come back for a year. And that leaves it open for subdivisions. That is, that, and we leave that out in there. Maybe not. And I don't, and I think you've got, I would suggest you leave that out in there. If you put that in. Well, site plans and subdivisions. If you turn one down and you have a room full of people. You turn it down because connectivity wasn't there. All right. And they go out and they get that connectivity and come back in, and it meets everything now, but I say you can't come back because that was part of the other. It's not new. It's not changing anything. You could. I'm just thinking about if you're sitting here with a room full of people, do you want to? Okay. I can leave. Yeah, I mean, if you want to leave it in there, that's fine with me. But I'm good with it if y'all are.
you leaving it a year, as a year?
Well, if y'all want to leave this in here, I'm good with it. If somebody brings something back that's been cured, I'm gonna send it on to y'all. No, it'd still have to come back to y'all for approval.
I think you would need to, I think staff would need to verify that all those conditions have been met and everything had been cured or corrected, before it got back to us. A year's an awful long time to wait, it really is. For anybody, for anything,
Correct.
really think about it.
That's right.
I can avoid that too, yeah, you're right.
Okay. Right.
So does it step on any other toes as far as, doing that? If you were to change it to 6 months or 4 months or whenever it's ready, what does it become? Once cured, it can come back, or is there still a limit of time
What's that?
as far as being able to bring it back?
Bring it back? Well, it'd be a year. You couldn't bring it back for a year unless there's something significantly different with it. So, if you cure it and you get it fixed with all the things that y'all objected to, that's significantly different, I would think. And let it come back. a rezoning, they would, and you turn it down, it couldn't come back for another year unless it's a different zone. Say you wanted it, they wanted it R5, you turn them down, and then they come back with R7. To me, that would be different. So a text amendment, if it doesn't make it through y'all and the planning commission, it probably, that's just repeating the same old thing. So I don't think that this is a bad thing.
I'm confused. I thought you were leaning towards changing it.
Well, I was. I was for subdivisions and site plans. Just those two.
So can you specify that, or can you not?
Well, what I would specify is that if you wanted to go that route, that text amendments and rezonings this would apply to. And leave site plans and subdivisions out of it so that it didn't apply to them. But I think we've talked through that and got that cured. Okay. Now, having said that, I think 17.5 under BZA, it doesn't have that. And to me, it's probably more needed for the BZA, and that's where I've seen it abused more than with the Planning Commission. And would y'all want to put something there? It's basically the same thing as number 4 above it for the Planning Commission. Somebody comes in and asks for a variance, they get denied. 2 months later, they come in and ask for the same variance again. Correct. It is. Uh-huh. But do you want to put that your limitation for the BZA?
The same one.
Same one.
Yes.
Would you want to poll the BZA and see what they thought? I mean, or something. I mean, or would we need to? I mean, or does it matter?
I don't think you need to. I think that's in the existing ordinance somewhere, to be honest with you.
You're right. From a legal issue, is that an issue? Because BZA is the.
Right. There was actually a case where the person, a previous jurisdiction applied, denied, she got a petition, came back, denied, came back again. I mean, it was every month they were coming to BZA about the same issue. Same issue. Yeah. So anyway, that is anything. Let me see. That's 17. Anything in 18? We hadn't really got into short-term rentals. I started to bring it with me tonight, but forgot it. He did send us some draft stuff on short-term rentals. I can have that next time if you'd like it.
Well, or if we're gonna address it, that may be a place where we need to see, it's
And we are, the, I think we still have a tourist home in here. Right now, I look at those as tourist homes. You can rent them. That's the class. That is a classification in our use table as a tourist home.
Can we just say
And-
Master Suite?
And a tourist home can be rented for 1 week every 6 months. And that's what I look at short-term rentals as right now. So technically, I don't know that they're really allowed right now, but it's something we hadn't got our arms around yet.
Not allowed. We'll see what happens.
And, and to me, in the draft, 30 days was the term. If it was over 30 days, it would be a long-term rental. And that's something we don't have in the current development code, is the differentiation of what is short and long. Anything else for tonight? Oh, I appreciate it. I will send these comments to the consultant, and when would y'all like to meet again? When would y'all like to meet again? We can do that, and if not, we can, I hope that it would be. And if not, we can always, I think your agenda's gonna be fairly light, mostly annexations. I don't see a lot of controversy. So, yeah, if not. I'm good. Yes, it'd be the things I've asked to follow up on. It won't be a new draft yet. Yeah, I'm gonna have to reach out to them and talk through that a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. I thought these were gonna be easy answers tonight.
Well, and the much larger though is the downtown. That's the big,
Anytime you say the word sign,
Oh, yeah,
that's
it's always,
I mean, it's just, it's nothing clear cut.
it is. And, if y'all have other comments or